Hello, my name is Matthew Darlett and I'm the Editor-in-Chief of The Neuropsychotherapist, a magazine and online portal designed for psychotherapists and other mental health care providers who are interested in subjects like neuroscience and how neuroscience informs effective psychotherapy. We're also the home for the International Journal of Neuropsychotherapy. This is our weekly video report, and as we usually do, we're going to catch up with Richard Hill in Sydney to see what he's discovered this week. Thanks, Richard.
Hi Matthew, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's catch-up on what's going on in neuroscience. I read something interesting I love the title of this one, Progress in Neuropsychopharmacology and Biological Psychiatry. They get the prize for the longest title. But what they're talking about there, once you get through the title, we'll have the link in the bottom, but the implications for smoking and nicotine dependence in ADHD. Now this is an interesting thing because I know a lot of ADHD kids, and of course it's quite done in research, that ADHD people are much more likely to smoke more heavily, and find it much more difficult to give it up. And it's, well, certainly in my immediate family and extended family, the thing is, I have a cigarette and my brain lights up, my brain starts to work. Now, in this particular article, let me hear the people here, Scott Collins and Alison Adcock. They're actually talking about the dopaminergic system, which is, of course, important in relation to the stimulation of the nucleus accumbens by nicotinic receptors. But also what's important, which they don't talk about here, but I found another nice paper, another one that I've looked at before, in biochemical pharmacology, looking at the acetylcholine, the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, and the action that goes on there, which is a stimulatory process for the medial prefrontal cortex, and also the noradrenergic, the norepinephrine system. And this is probably actually going into some of the other basal nucleuses and area there, although I'm not sure to what degree they extend on that. But another interesting article, and there they're talking about the importance of nicotinic acetylcholine receptor system in the prefrontal cortex. So that's a 2013 paper, and we'll have the link to that. Because, and there's one more article actually just before discussing it briefly, and that's actually in a thing called schizophrenia.com, where schizophrenia is something also where smoking is taken up a lot. And they talk about, in their article, nicotine. Not all bad. Now, these are interesting things to read. I think important things to read. But what's more important is not saying, oh great, nicotine's good, let's get smoking. Let's start whacking on nicotine patches to my clients. It's what is it doing? Why is it doing? What is the stimulation? What is the process that is being altered? What is the process that is being diminished that needs to be altered? Now, one of the things that I know I do with ADHD, and we've had, it's anecdotal, I haven't done research on it, but it's always been very successful, and I have some very, very surprisingly successful cases, where we have activated the dopaminergic processes through curiosity, through fascination, through just being interested in the person, where I remember there was a radio interview one time where a guy said, I heard my kid had attention deficit syndrome, so I paid more attention to them and they seemed to be much better. So fascination, curiosity, so the dopamine circuits are stimulated by that, but also are the noradrenaline and the norepinephrine systems by energy, by this curiosity-oriented system, which is, of course, I talk about now with my curiosity-oriented approach, and you see that in Jacques Pansep's work. So the activity of driving the prefrontal cortex through activity in the midbrain, in those areas of the basal ganglia, is areas of the limbic system, is really important and really interesting. Nicotine does it. How can we do it other ways? What are the other non-drug-based, non-invasive stimulations that we can bring in our clients? Have a look at those papers. And then, if you want to know a lot more about the brain, a lot more about trauma, a lot more about psychotherapy, got to mention, and it's late days now, but still time to get in, and that's the Psychotherapy Networker Symposium. Rich Simon organising this in Washington, D.C. Now that's March 20th to 23rd. It's like $500 for 4 days. Wonderful stuff. Lots of things going on. Look at some of these people. Rick Hansen, Peter Levine, of course, talking about his somatic treatments. Diana Fosha, Eric Vanderkolk will be there. Barbara Fredrickson, Dan Siegel, my mate, will be there, as well as we've got workshops by some really important people who are going on, so you can spend actual whole days. And Bruce Ecker, my friend, will be there doing coherence therapy and memory reconsolidation. Check it out. The link's on the site there, psychotherapynetworker.org. I think it's sort of /Symposium 2014 that we'll see it. So that's what's going on. That's what's happening to everybody. Have a great week. Keep thinking and get a good brain. Bye.
Thank you, Richard. As usual, we'll leave all those details for you below this video so you can catch up and follow up on any of those subjects that you're interested in. As usual, we like to keep up with what's happening on Shrink Wrap Radio, so it's across to Dr. Dave. Thanks, Dr. Dave.
Hello, Matthew. It's good to be back here and have an opportunity to tell you about my latest podcast interview, which is number 392, and it's on time, trauma, and heroism with Philip Zimbardo, PhD. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited and honored, really, to be able to interview someone of his stature. As a matter of fact, I'd like to read you the biographical data on Dr. Zimbardo in case anybody out there hasn't heard of him, which would be hard to believe in your audience or mine. So here's some of the bio. Philip Zimbardo is one of the most distinguished living psychologists, having served as president of the American Psychological Association, designed and narrated the award-winning 26-part PBS series, Discovering Psychology, and has published more than 50 books and 400 professional and popular articles and chapters, among them Shyness, The Lucifer Effect, The Time Cure, and The Time Paradox. A professor emeritus at Stanford University, Dr. Zimbardo has spent 57 years teaching and studying psychology. He received his PhD in psychology from Yale University, and his areas of focus include the time perspective, shyness, terrorism, madness, and evil. Best known for his controversial Stanford prison experiment that highlighted the ease with which ordinary, intelligent college students could cross the line between good and evil when caught up in the matrix of situational and systemic forces. Dr. Zimbardo is currently teaching in the PsyD Consortium program at Palo Alto University and lecturing worldwide. His current research looks at the psychology of heroism. He asks, and I quote here, "What pushes some people to become perpetrators of evil while others act heroically on behalf of those in need?" And indeed, that's the focus of his current research. Well, in this interview, I wanted in particular to explore his work on PTSD. But it's a wide-ranging interview lasting only a half hour because he had a limited amount of time. But we get into some of his personal history. We also get into a famous experimental series that he did about giving little kids marshmallows and the delay of gratification and how predictive that is, and also his research on what he calls time perspective intervention therapy. So please join us. Come and join the fun by listening to all of this on Shrink Wrap Radio episode number 392. Back to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Dr. Dave. Now, if you're a professional in the mental health arena and you have something that you think would be interesting for our readership to know about and you'd like to be part of this video blog, then please drop us a line. I'd love to collaborate with you and make this video blog as interesting as possible for our readership. So until next week, Goodbye.